It is Monday, June 4th at 12:32 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, or 4:15 Coordinated Universal Time, and you are looking at a live view of a flight-proven Falcon 9 rocket on the SpaceX launch pad as it awaits its second launch since landing back in September of 2017. And the first stage of the Falcon 9 that you see on the pad on the right of your screen previously launched the U.S. Air Force's X-37B, which was an orbital test vehicle that flew from the neighboring Launch Complex 39A at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The previous flight of this Falcon 9's first stage successfully landed at SpaceX's Landing Zone 1 at Cape Canaveral. Now today, that same booster will help deliver the SES12 satellite to a geostationary transfer orbit, which you'll hear us call GTO throughout the webcast. Now, today's launch will be our fifth for SES. The first was SES8 back in December of 2013, and the most recent was SES11 in October of 2017. And of course, the SES10 mission in March of last year marked a historic milestone on SpaceX's road to reusability when it became the world's first reflight of an orbital-class rocket. And today, we will not be making a recovery attempt of the first stage, so we will conclude coverage of the first stage's journey at stage separation. The Falcon 9 on your screen rolled out of the hangar and was raised to vertical on the launch pad early this morning East Coast time. You can see the two-stage Falcon 9 vehicle standing over 200 feet tall on the launch pad, which is about the length of the entire wingspan of an Airbus 380 airplane. Now, the first stage is easy to spot as it has that re-entry soot from the previous launch that you can see at the bottom. The first stage provides the initial force to get out of the majority of the Earth's atmosphere, but unlike our newer Block 5 boosters, this first stage is not planned for additional flights, so SpaceX will not recover it today. However, for this mission, we are flying a Block 5 second stage, and we will of course be following the second stage as it takes the satellite from the edge of space and accelerates to its final orbit. On top, in that 17-foot diameter payload fairing in the center of your screen, is the SES12 satellite. And the structure behind the rocket to the left is the tip of the transporter erector, or the strong back as we like to call it. Now, this large mechanism transports and supports the vehicle as it rolls out to the pad and goes from its horizontal integration position to its vertical flight configuration that you see on screen. During pre-launch status updates, we like to check on four primary items, and those are the vehicle, the payload, the range, and the weather. Now, regarding the vehicle, propellant loading began for fuel and oxidizer at about T-minus 72 minutes, and an initial go, no-go poll was held at around the same time. The first propellant, which is the rocket-grade kerosene fuel, is mostly loaded onto both stages by this point and is currently being topped off. And then the second propellant, the liquid oxygen, is only partially loaded and is currently in a planned pause while we actually load the pressurant, the helium, to its final flight mass. Once we confirm that we have sufficient helium on board, we will resume the liquid oxygen loading to its final values. So regarding the payload, SES12 is healthy within those fairings. At this moment, they're performing final flight checks before liftoff, and those are going smoothly. At this point, first stage and second stage are almost fully loaded with collectively around 1 million pounds of propellant.
Goes out running. Falcon 9's in startup. LD, go for launch.
Minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition. Liftoff.
Downrange. Stage 1 propulsion's nominal.
Events here in short succession. It's MECO, stage SEP, and then SES1. MECO is main engine cutoff. That's when all 9 engines on first stage stop firing. There follows stage separation, when the 2 stages gently separate from each other. And then the third event in that succession is SES1, which is second engine start number 1. We'll see those here in a few seconds.
MECO. Stage separation confirmed. Got ignition. Good first stage performance.
And we're coming up on the next major event, which is the deployment of the fairings, those aerodynamic shields surrounding SES12.
FTS is safe.
And the fairings have deployed. So to recap all that quickly, we had max Q, max pressure, and then the main engine's cut off, and then the stages separated, and then we had second engine start. Now this is the first of 2 planned burns that the second stage will conduct. Then the fairings deployed thereafter, exposing SES12 to space. We don't need that extra mass once we're outside of the atmosphere. We no longer need our aerodynamic shield. Now a quick note on the fairings. While we aren't attempting recovery of the fairings today, we have been attempting to recover fairings during our West Coast launches. Now last launch we got pretty close with the fairing landing about 50 meters from Mr. Steven, which is our catch boat, and we will continue those recovery attempts until we're successful, but not on today's SES12 mission. So we're going for a few minutes here. This burn is again 6 minutes long. We've gone through about 2 minutes of it. So this will continue for another about 4 minutes, and then we'll reach SECO 1, which is second engine cutoff number 1. And if you're just joining us, we again had a successful liftoff of the Falcon 9. It's carrying the SES12 payload to geostationary transfer orbits. Second stage has separated and is about halfway through its first of 2 planned burns. It's currently T plus 6 minutes. We have about 2.5 minutes left in this first of 2 burns for the second stage until we enter about a 17-minute coast period. So again, the second stage is carrying SES-12 to its geostationary transfer orbit. 2 minutes remain in this burn.